What's up, tubers? It's your boy Itchy, and I've got a special guest over at my place tonight, my homie Will Santana. And definitely check him out. Check out his page, Will Santana Films. Of course, it'll be on the screen right now, and of course, it'll be in the description. But we want to do something different for you guys tonight. And we got together and we started to think about different ways that we can make a video. And he actually came up with the idea, let's do some retro gaming. And I'm a huge fan of retro gaming, so I said, let's do it. We just had to figure out a good way to do it. So, what was your first console, Will?
My first console was an Atari 2600.
2600 is great.
Yeah, the first game I ever played on a console was probably Pac-Man.
Oh, snap.
I would say it was probably like in the mid-80s, 84-ish, 85 when I first got my first console. I played it like crazy. I did have what was considered the worst game ever at that time, which is E.T. And back then, I did think it was fun because it was one of the very few games. You know, my dad was very strict about us having video games back then, but hey, I was a gamer back then, you know.
Very interesting point you bring up, a gamer. And that's really what this is about. And I want you guys to light up the comment section and let me know what you think a gamer is today. I will tell you guys, you know, we came up at a time when you had to go to an arcade and play. If you weren't going to an arcade and playing, you weren't considered a real gamer. You know, you put your quarters up on top and you settled everything in the arcade. You know, at that time, being honest, these consoles were a luxury still. A lot of people didn't really know. You know, you agree with that, Will?
I definitely agree with that.
A lot of people didn't really know what it was that we were doing with them, and I think that a lot of people were taken aback because they didn't know and didn't really have a good idea as to what they would become. Just like the first computers, you know, when you had to dial up modems. So I think that this is way different than what we started out with, particularly, you know, just the styling. Obviously, right now, digital is getting a lot of press, but keep in mind, we started out with consoles, and I really like cartridges, excuse me. Cartridges were awesome to me. I want to talk about a couple things, one of which is the current state of gaming, digital downloads versus cartridges, and kind of where we are now, just to see where his mind is, and then you know, talk about the other 2 points as we go along. So what do you think, Will, about digital versus having an actual physical copy? Do you think that that's hurting or helping gaming moving forward?
I don't know. I'm kind of both ways with it because, like, downloading, it gives you the capability of upgrading some of the games. Because I do like sometimes on Call of Duty, you can get the new maps. You get tired of playing the same maps over and over. You know, the physical copy, it's kind of like, it's the thing to have, though. You know,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know people can get emulators on these games and stuff, but it's just not the same when you have the hard copy, you know?
I agree. And I think there's something else to be said. And I know a lot of people don't like to do this, but I think there's also something to be said for those of us that like to stand outside on lunch night and hang out. And there's a certain amount of camaraderie that you get that you don't get with a digital download. It's just not personal.
Yeah, well, you know, actually, that's how me and you ran into each other, man.
Yeah, it's a funny story. We were actually at a Call of Duty midnight release, and Will and I went to high school together, and we ran into each other at the midnight release of all places. And I think those are the kind of things that are cool about midnight releases that you don't necessarily get with a digital download. I think that if we're going to get to a point where digital downloads are going to be, you know, the #1 way to consume video games or to get material, they got to drop the price.
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason that a digital download should cost the same as a physical copy of the game, because you're not paying somebody to package it. You're not paying somebody to ship it. You're not paying somebody to market it at a GameStop or something. I'm just from my living room or wherever I'm at downloading it, and it's there. So why does that cost the same amount of money that the packaged version costs? In order for me to fully adopt digital, that's going to have to change, and they're going to have to, you know, lower these prices.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I think Call of Duty 4 was my favorite as far as the DLC because they only released one map pack, and they put 4 maps on it, and you were good to go because then World at War was getting ready to come out, you know?
Right. No, I agree with that. Which brings me to another point. When we start talking about digital downloads or full games, what about microtransactions? We talked about that a little bit too. And I want to know how you guys feel in the comments about microtransactions. And if you don't know what a microtransaction is, it is the map packs that you purchase for Call of Duty. It is the clothes you purchase for a character. It is the stages that you purchase in RPGs. It's any kind of add-on that didn't come with the original game that you have to add extra money with. And the worst part of it is, and who takes the most advantage of it and hurts you the most are like cell phone companies, app stores, things of that nature for quick games. He's gone. Mike Tyson knocked him out. But you know, those are the ones that hurt you the most. I think of like Candy Crush in particular. Candy Crush will nickel and dime you to death. $1 here, $1 there to beat the stage. And most people say, well, it's not that much. But when you really add it up and you say, okay, this much times X number of people, it can get really crazy, and ultimately they make a ton of money off of a secondary sale, which is what a microtransaction is. Let me know what you guys think about microtransactions, and if you think that they're cool, you think they're unnecessary, or you think they're just overkill. The last thing I want to talk to you guys about is, what do you guys think about this new movement with retro gaming, and are you guys even interested in it? I know a lot of my friends, and Will can elaborate on it because I want to ask him a very specific question, are getting into old school gaming, retro gaming as we call it. They're getting to it heavy. And I personally am on the other side of that argument. I like to leave what's dead dead. But a lot of my friends don't. They're like, they wanna do this. My nephew's into it. A lot of my friends are into the retro gaming, buying up Segas, buying up Nintendo products, buying up Ataris, and I don't know why. So I want Will to answer that question as we wrap. You know, what's the big deal with this new movement to retro gaming, and do you think it's something that's a fad or if it's here to stay?
I definitely think it's here to stay, man. People are picking up the Nintendos and then the Super Nintendos. The Sega Genesis is the only one I've noticed that is like dirt cheap, but I think it's gonna come around. People who collecting the regular Nintendo and they're collecting the Super Nintendo, they have nowhere else to go but the Sega Genesis, so it's the only market left, in my opinion. So the Sega Genesis, I think, is due next, where the Atari 2600 may come, but that one's going to be really hard to come across, you know. I understand the new generation may not jump on this because technology is just so far advanced with the 1080p and 3D and everything, you know, but the old school fans, this is just what they grew up with. You know, you can't let it go. It's like with music.
You think it's a nostalgia thing more than anything else?
Kind of. Yes and no. I definitely think, like, it's a part of that childhood. You know, you want it back, and like, even today when you listen to music, you always go back and say, well, today's music can't touch what we grew up with. Right. You know, and then your parents will say, well, your music ain't as good as ours.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
So I definitely think that's a part of what's going on, is like people are saying, well, the games that are coming out today can't touch what we grew up with.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section about retro gaming. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. I'm out. Peace.